The chapel doors stood open like a wound. Jada Coleman sat alone in the center aisle, her white dress pooling around her wheelchair, her hands trembling as she held the bouquet of peonies and roses she'd arranged herself just hours ago. The guests had already arrived. She could hear their whispered confusion in the lobby, but there would be no groom. Marcus had sent a text message. A text message. "I can't do this, I'm sorry. You deserve someone who can handle your situation." Her situation. As if she were a problem to be solved rather than a woman to be loved. The side door opened. Jada didn't look up, assuming it was the wedding coordinator coming to deliver more bad news. Instead, footsteps approached. Confident, measured, expensive shoes against marble. A voice, deep and accented, spoke words that would change everything. A woman who can create such beauty should never cry alone. She looked up into the darkest eyes she'd ever seen, belonging to a man in a perfectly tailored black suit. "I have a proposition for you." 3 hours earlier, Jada had been happy. Nervous, yes, but happy. She'd wheeled herself through the hotel's bridal suite, checking every detail of her appearance one final time. The dress had required alterations. Sitting changed everything about how fabric fell, but the seamstress had been patient, and the result was perfect. Ivory silk, lace sleeves, a bodice that made her feel beautiful despite everything that had happened over the past 2 years. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. Finally. He'd been acting strange all week, distant in ways that made her stomach tight with worry. But she'd told herself it was just pre-wedding jitters. Everyone got nervous. The message loaded. She read it once, twice, 3 times, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something that didn't shatter her heart into pieces. "Jada, I can't go through with this. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. You're going to need so much care, and I'm not ready for that responsibility. You deserve someone stronger than me. I'm sorry." The phone slipped from her fingers. The room tilted. Somewhere distant, she heard herself make a sound, not quite a scream, not quite a sob, something raw and animal that came from a place deeper than words. Her best friend Tasha found her 20 minutes later, mascara running, the phone still on the floor displaying that devastating message. "Oh, baby. Oh, no. What happened?" Jada couldn't speak. She just pointed at the phone. Tasha read it, and her expression transformed from concern to pure fury. "That sorry excuse for a man, that absolute coward. I'm going to find him and—" "Don't." Jada's voice came out hollow. "The guests are here. What do I tell them? We'll cancel. We'll send everyone home. You don't have to face them." But Jada shook her head. The venue was paid for, non-refundable. The flowers, her flowers, arrangements she'd stayed up late creating because floristry was the one thing that still made her feel capable, were already in place. The caterers were preparing food. Musicians were setting up, and she was so tired of being pitied. "I need to go down there," she said. "I need to tell them myself." That was how she ended up in the chapel, alone gathering courage she didn't feel. The space was beautiful. She'd chosen every detail. White peonies and blush roses cascaded from every surface. Candles flickered in glass holders. Soft music played from hidden speakers. It should have been the happiest day of her life. Instead, it felt like a funeral. The side door opened. Jada assumed it was the wedding coordinator, probably coming to ask what she wanted to do about the ceremony timing. She didn't look up, couldn't bear to see more pity in someone's eyes. But the footsteps that approached weren't the coordinator's quick, anxious pace. These were measured, confident, the kind of walk that suggested the person had never doubted themselves in their entire life. A woman who can create such beauty should never cry alone. The voice was male, deep, with an accent that wrapped around the English words like silk. Korean, she thought distantly. There was a significant Korean community in Atlanta, including a Koreatown district, where some of the city's best restaurants resided. Jada looked up and forgot how to breathe. The man standing before her was striking in a way that had nothing to do with conventional handsomeness and everything to do with presence. He was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with jet black hair styled with precise attention. His suit was clearly custom, the kind of tailoring that cost more than Jada made in 6 months at the flower shop, but it was his eyes that held her, dark, intense, and looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I'm sorry," she managed. There's been a change." "I know." He moved closer, and she caught the scent of expensive cologne and something else, something that made her instincts whisper danger even as her heart rate increased. "Your groom is a fool." The blunt statement delivered in that accented voice startled a laugh out of her. It came out half sob. You don't even know me. I know you arranged these flowers yourself. The style is consistent throughout the venue, but each arrangement has small personal touches, different from standard hotel offerings. He gestured to the bouquet in her lap. I know you chose peonies because they symbolize honor and prosperity in Korean culture. I know you've been sitting here for 20 minutes trying to decide whether to face your guests or disappear. And I know, his eyes held hers, that you are stronger than anyone who would abandon you. Jada's throat tightened. How do you know about the peonies? I own this hotel. The words hung in the air between them. Jada's mind raced. The Grand Lotus was one of Atlanta's most prestigious venues. She'd booked it a year ago, stretching her budget to the breaking point because she wanted one perfect day. The owner would be wealthy, powerful. I should cancel everything, she said. I'll talk to your events manager about refunds. No refunds necessary. He pulled a chair from the first row and sat, bringing himself to her eye level. The gesture felt deliberate, thoughtful. I have a different suggestion. Marry me instead. For a moment, Jada thought she'd misheard. Excuse me? Your guests are here, the ceremony is prepared. You've clearly invested significant time and resources into this day. His expression remained serious, unreadable. I'm offering to fulfill the role your former fiancé abandoned. That's insane, I don't even know your name. Shin Woo-jin. He extended his hand. And you're Jada Coleman, 28, owner of Bloom and Grace Floristry in Westside. You lost your parents 2 years ago in a car accident that left you paralyzed. You've been engaged to Marcus Webb for 18 months. He proposed 3 months after your accident, which initially seemed noble, but now appears to have been guilt or obligation rather than love. Jada's blood ran cold. How do you know all that? I make it my business to know about events held in my properties. Background checks are standard. His gaze remained steady. What I don't understand is why a man would promise forever to a woman like you and then lack the courage to follow through. A woman like me. Jada's voice hardened. You mean a cripple? I mean a woman with strength enough to build a business after tragedy. Intelligence to create beauty from nothing. Pride enough to face public humiliation rather than hide. He leaned forward slightly. Your wheelchair is the least interesting thing about you. The words hit Jada like a physical blow. Not because they were cruel, but because they were the first time since the accident that anyone had seen her as something other than her disability. Why would you do this? She whispered. Marry a complete stranger? Woo-jin was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, something shifted in his expression, something almost vulnerable beneath the controlled exterior. Because I understand what it means to be judged by circumstances beyond your control. Because no one should be discarded like trash. And because, he glanced at the flowers, the candles, the perfect details, you deserve better than this ending. This is crazy, perhaps, but consider your alternative. Face your guests and admit you were abandoned, or walk out with a husband and let the world see that you are valuable enough to be chosen, even by a stranger. Jada's mind spun. It was insane. Marrying a man she'd met 5 minutes ago. But the thought of wheeling back down that aisle alone, of seeing pity in every eye, of Marcus's rejection defining this day forever. What do you get out of this? She asked. Woo-jin's smile was slight, enigmatic. Let's call it an investment in beautiful things that others fail to appreciate. Before Jada could respond, the chapel door opened again. Tasha burst in, then stopped short at the sight of Woo-jin. Jada, honey, we need to... Who is this? My groom, Jada heard herself say. The words felt surreal leaving her mouth. Tasha, this is Shin Woo-jin. We're getting married. Tasha's expression cycled through confusion, shock, and deep suspicion in rapid succession. Girl, what are you talking about? 10 minutes ago you were crying about Marcus. Marcus made his choice. Jada straightened in her wheelchair, feeling something like defiance replacing despair. I'm making mine. You can't marry a complete stranger. Watch me. Woo-jin stood, and Jada noticed for the first time how he seemed to command space simply by existing in it. I'll give you both a moment to discuss. He looked at Jada. I'll be in the hall. If you decide to proceed, I'll arrange for the officiant. If not, he inclined his head slightly. I wish you well regardless of your choice. After he left, Tasha wheeled around to face Jada. Have you lost your mind? You don't know anything about this man. I know he sees me as more than a tragedy. That's more than Marcus ever did. Marcus was with you for 18 months. Out of guilt. You know it, I know it. He stayed because leaving would make him look like a bad person. Jada's voice cracked. Well, He left anyway. At least this way, I don't have to face everyone's pity. So you're going to marry a stranger instead? That's your solution? Maybe it is. Jada looked at her best friend, seeing the concern and love there. Tasha, I'm tired. I'm tired of being brave. I'm tired of proving I'm still worth something. I'm tired of wondering if anyone will ever want me again. For one day I want to be chosen, even if it's by someone who has his own reasons. Tasha's expression softened. She knelt beside the wheelchair, taking Jada's hands. Baby, you are worth everything. You don't need to prove that to anyone. I know, but I want to do this anyway. They stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Tasha sighed. Okay, if you're sure. But I'm watching this man like a hawk, and if he does anything suspicious, I'm calling the police. Noted. Tasha stood, then paused. He is fine, though. Like, suspiciously fine. What does he want with you? I have no idea, Jada admitted. But I guess I'm about to find out. The ceremony happened in a blur. Wu Jin returned with the officiant, a woman who looked mildly confused, but professional enough not to ask questions. The guests filed in. Jada's friends and family, all of whom had been told there was a change in plans but the wedding would proceed. Jada wheeled herself down the aisle with Tasha beside her, watching faces turn from confusion to shock. Whispers rippled through the pews. Where was Marcus? Who was the Asian man standing at the altar? What was happening? Let them wonder. Let them talk. For the first time since the accident, Jada felt something other than grief or resignation. She felt defiant, powerful, chosen. Wu Jin waited for her at the altar, his expression calm and unreadable. When she reached him, he extended his hand. She took it, feeling calluses she hadn't expected. Working hands, despite the expensive suit. The officiant began the ceremony. Standard words about love and commitment, suddenly surreal when applied to two strangers. Jada barely heard them. She was too aware of Wu Jin's hand in hers, warm and solid, too conscious of his eyes on her face, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Do you, Shin Wu Jin, take Jada Coleman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. His voice carried through the chapel, certain and clear. And do you, Jada Coleman, take Shin Wu Jin to be your lawfully wedded husband? This was it. The moment to back out. To admit this was insane and call everything off. She could feel Tasha's worried gaze boring into her back. Could sense her aunt in the third row, probably having a heart attack. Jada looked at Wu Jin. Really looked at him. There was something in his eyes she couldn't name. Not pity. Not obligation. Something else. Something that made her believe, for just this moment, that she was worth choosing. I do. The words sealed her fate. You may kiss the bride. Wu Jin leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His lips brushed hers, soft, brief, surprisingly gentle. A kiss that promised nothing and everything. When he pulled back, his eyes held a question she couldn't yet answer. The reception was chaos. Jada's family descended with questions she couldn't answer. Where was Marcus? Who was this man? How long had she known him? When did this happen? Wu Jin handled it with calm efficiency, his accent lending authority to simple explanations that revealed nothing. Marcus and I reached an understanding. Jada deserved better than uncertainty. I'm privileged to be her husband. Jada watched him work the room, noting how people responded to him. There was something about Wu Jin that commanded respect, or perhaps fear. Men deferred to him. Women looked interested but wary. Even her uncle Raymond, who'd played college football and never backed down from anyone, shook Wu Jin's hand with unusual care. Your husband is intense, Tasha murmured, appearing at Jada's elbow with champagne. I've been asking around. Nobody knows anything about him except that he owns half the real estate in Koreatown, and people don't cross him. What does that mean? It means he's either very successful or very dangerous. Possibly both. Jada sipped her champagne, watching Wu Jin across the room. He was speaking with her aunt, his posture relaxed but alert, like a predator pretending to be domesticated. What had she done? The reception wound down as evening approached. Guests departed with confused well-wishes and promises to call later for the real story. Finally, only Jada, Wu Jin, and Tasha remained in the venue. So, Tasha said, crossing her arms, what happens now? Where's my girl going to live? Wu Jin turned to Jada. That's your choice. I have a residence in Buckhead. You're welcome to stay there, or I can arrange alternative accommodations if you prefer. Stay there as what? Jada asked. What exactly do you expect from this marriage? I expect nothing. This arrangement is whatever you want it to be. If you prefer it to be a legal fiction that we dissolve quietly in a few months, that's acceptable. If you'd like to explore whether there's something more—" He paused. "That's also acceptable. You're telling me you married me out of pure altruism? You want nothing?" Something flickered across Wu Jin's face. "I want you to not regret today. Beyond that, I'm flexible." Tasha snorted. "Nobody's that flexible. What's your angle?" "My angle," Wu Jin said quietly, his eyes on Jada, "is that I've spent too many years surrounded by people who value only power and money. I saw a woman creating beauty in the face of cruelty, and I wanted to be part of something that wasn't ugly, that's all." The words hung in the air. Jada wanted to believe them, but she was also practical enough to know that men like Wu Jin, wealthy, powerful men, didn't do things without reasons. "I'll stay at your place," she said finally, "for tonight at least, until I figure out what comes next." Tasha looked like she wanted to argue, but Jada cut her off with a look. "I'll be fine. Call me tomorrow." After Tasha left, reluctantly, with multiple threats aimed at Wu Jin about what would happen if Jada wasn't perfectly safe, Jada found herself alone with her new husband. "My car is in the garage," Wu Jin said. "Whenever you're ready." The drive to Buckhead was quiet. Wu Jin's car was exactly what she'd expected, a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than her entire flower shop. He drove with the same controlled precision he seemed to apply to everything. "Can I ask you something?" Jada said finally, breaking the silence. "Of course. Why did you really do this? And please don't give me the altruism line again." Wu Jin was quiet for a moment, navigating through traffic. When he spoke, his voice was careful. "My mother was in a wheelchair for the last 5 years of her life. Stroke. She went from being one of the strongest people I knew to being treated like she was invisible. Like her disability erased everything else about her." He glanced at Jada. "When I saw you in that chapel, I saw her. The same look in your eyes, anger and hurt and determination not to break. I couldn't walk away from that." The explanation felt true, but Jada sensed there was more he wasn't saying. "I'm sorry about your mother. She would have liked you, she loved flowers." They arrived at Wu Jin's building, a high-rise in the heart of Buckhead, with a doorman who greeted him respectfully. The penthouse elevator required a key. Jada's heart hammered as they ascended. The apartment was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern furniture, expensive art, everything carefully curated, but it felt cold, unlived in, despite obvious wealth. "The master bedroom is accessible," Wu Jin said, showing her through. "I had modifications made after my mother stayed with me. Bathroom has a roll-in shower, lowered counters, everything you might need." Jada wheeled through the space, impressed despite herself. "Where will you sleep?" "Guest room, unless you prefer I make other arrangements." "No, I just—" She turned to face him. "I don't understand you." "You're not required to. Not yet, anyway." Wu Jin loosened his tie, the first casual gesture she'd seen from him all day. The movement revealed a glimpse of tattoos beneath his collar. Unexpected, intriguing. "Are you hungry? I can order food." "Starving, actually." He smiled, a real smile that transformed his face from handsome to devastating. "Good. I know the best Korean barbecue in the city. They deliver." Over dinner, an incredible spread of bulgogi, kimchi and banchan that Wu Jin ordered with easy familiarity, Jada found herself relaxing slightly. He asked about her flower shop, listened attentively as she talked about building the business from nothing, didn't ask about the accident unless she volunteered information. "How did you end up in the hotel business?" she asked. "Family legacy. My father built the Grand Lotus 30 years ago. I expanded from there." He poured her more soju, the Korean alcohol going down surprisingly smooth. "We own several properties throughout Atlanta now." "That's impressive." "It's responsibility." Something shadowed his expression. "My father believed in building empires. I inherited his vision along with his debts." "What kind of debts?" Wu Jin's eyes met hers, and she saw something dangerous there. The kind that can't be paid with money alone. Before Jada could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression hardened. "Excuse me, I need to take this." He stepped onto the balcony speaking rapid Korean. Jada couldn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Anger, authority, threat. When he returned, his mask was back in place. "I apologize. Business matter." "At 10 o'clock at night. Some businesses don't keep regular hours." Jada studied him, seeing past the surface for the first time. The expensive suit, the tattoos, the way people deferred to him. The late-night business calls. What exactly is your family business, Wu Jin? He held her gaze. Hotels, restaurants, import-export, various investments. That's not the whole truth, is it? No, he admitted quietly. But it's all I can tell you right now. Is that acceptable? Jada thought about it. She'd married a stranger. She was living in his penthouse. She'd already crossed so many lines. What was one more secret? For now, she said. But eventually, I'll want the truth. Eventually, Wu Jin agreed. I'll give it to you. Jada woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and momentary panic before memory returned. Married. She was married to Shin Wu Jin, a man she'd known for less than 24 hours. What had she been thinking? She transferred to her wheelchair and made her way to the kitchen, following the scent of coffee. Wu Jin stood at the counter, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt, hair still damp from a shower. He looked up as she entered. Good morning, I made coffee. American style, but I can prepare Korean if you prefer. American is fine. Jada accepted the mug he offered, noting how careful he was not to make the transaction awkward. Did you sleep? Enough. He leaned against the counter, watching her. I have meetings this morning. My assistant will be available if you need anything. Driver, groceries, whatever you require. I should get back to my apartment. Check on the shop. Your shop is closed for the week. I spoke with your employee, Teresa, last night. Explained you were on honeymoon. Jada's eyebrows rose. You called my employee? I thought you might not want to deal with logistics immediately. It was thoughtful. Presumptuous, but thoughtful. Thank you, I think. Wu Jin's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, and his jaw tightened. I need to go. Make yourself at home. Truly. This is your space now, for as long as you want it. After he left, Jada explored the penthouse more thoroughly. The place was immaculate, almost sterile in its perfection, but in the guest room, Wu Jin's room, she found hints of the man beneath the surface. Books in Korean and English, a photograph of an elegant woman who must be his mother, and on the dresser a handgun. Jada stared at it for a long moment. The weapon was well maintained, expensive-looking, not something you kept for simple home defense. She backed out of the room, heart pounding. What had she gotten herself into? The day passed slowly. Jada tried to work on designs for the shop, but couldn't concentrate. Her phone exploded with messages from family and friends, all wanting details about her mysterious husband. She ignored most of them, not ready to explain what she didn't understand herself. Around 3, the penthouse door opened. Jada looked up, expecting Wu Jin. Instead, 2 Korean men in suits entered, one older, one younger, both radiating danger. Mrs. Shin, the older one said in accented English, we're here for your protection. Mr. Shin's orders. Protection from what? The men exchanged glances. Mr. Shin will explain when he returns. For now, we ask that you stay inside. Jada's unease crystallized into fear. I want to talk to Wu Jin. Now. He's in a meeting. I don't care. Get him on the phone or I'm leaving. The younger man pulled out his phone, spoke quickly in Korean, then handed it to Jada. I apologize, Wu Jin's voice came through, tense. There's been a development. You're safe, but I need you to stay at the apartment with my men until I return. What kind of development? Who are these people? Security. Please, Jada, trust me for a few more hours. I'll explain everything tonight. The line went dead. Jada stared at the phone, then at the 2 men watching her carefully. Fine, but I want answers when he gets back. The men nodded and took positions by the door and windows. Jada retreated to the bedroom, mind racing. Gun, security guards, secret meetings. This wasn't just wealth. This was something else entirely. Wu Jin returned after dark, and Jada could see immediately that something had changed. Blood on his collar, a bruise forming on his jaw, his eyes harder than before. What happened? She demanded. He dismissed the guards with a gesture, then turned to her. I need to tell you the truth about my family's business. You deserve to know before you make any decisions about staying. Okay. My father didn't just build hotels. He built an organization. Criminal enterprise, Korean Mafia, if you want the American term. Protection, smuggling, various other operations. When he died 5 years ago, I inherited everything. The hotels, the restaurants, and the darker elements. Jada's hands gripped her wheelchair's armrests. You're a criminal. Yes. By law, yes. By choice. He hesitated. It's complicated. Leaving isn't simple. There are rules, obligations, blood debts. I've tried to move things toward legitimate business, but the past doesn't disappear easily. Why are you telling me this now? Because someone found out about our marriage, a rival organization. They see you as leverage against me. His voice roughened. I've increased security. You're protected. But I won't lie to you about the risk. Jada's mind spun. Mafia. She'd married into the Korean Mafia. It was insane, impossible. Except the evidence was right in front of her, the guards, the gun, the blood on his collar. You used me, she said quietly. This wasn't about helping me. It was about, what? Showing weakness? Proving you have a heart? No. Woo Jin moved closer, kneeling so they were eye level. I married you because I saw something I wanted to protect, because walking away felt impossible. I knew it was selfish, bringing you into my world, but I did it anyway. You should have told me the truth. Would you have married me if I had? No. Exactly. He reached for her hand, stopped himself. I'll arrange alternative accommodations. Somewhere safe, far from Atlanta. New identity if you want it. You can disappear and I'll make sure no one ever connects you to me again. Jada stared at him. Part of her wanted to take the offer, run as far and fast as possible. But another part, the part that had been drawn to him from that first moment in the chapel, hesitated. Why did you really marry me? She asked. Truth this time. Woo Jin was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was raw. Because when I saw you in that chapel refusing to break, I saw the kind of strength I've never had. Because I'm tired of being surrounded by people who want something from me. Because for 5 minutes standing at that altar, I felt like I might be something other than my father's son. He met her eyes. Because you made me want to be better. The confession hung between them, honest and vulnerable, in a way Jada hadn't expected him capable of. I should leave, she whispered. Yes, you should. But if I stay, what would that look like? Dangerous, complicated, possibly foolish. His hand finally closed over hers. But real. More real than anything in my life has been for years. Jada looked at their joined hands, his scarred and calloused, hers stained with flower pigments. Two broken people from different worlds, connected by a moment of desperate impulse. I need time to think, she said. Of course. Take all the time you need. But that night, lying in the too large bed, Jada couldn't stop thinking about the look in Woo Jin's eyes when he'd knelt before her. Couldn't forget the gentleness of his hands, despite the violence they'd clearly committed. Couldn't ignore the way her heart raced when he was near. She'd spent 2 years being careful, protecting herself, building walls. Maybe it was time to take a risk. Around 2 in the morning, she found herself wheeling to the guest room. The door was ajar, light spilling out. She pushed it open. Woo Jin sat on the bed, head in his hands. He looked up as she entered, surprise flickering across his features. Can't sleep, he asked. Can't decide, Jada corrected. This is insane. You're a criminal. I'm a flower shop owner. We have nothing in common. No, we don't. Your world is dangerous. Very. You're probably going to get me killed. I'll do everything in my power to prevent that. Jada wheeled closer. Then why does this feel right? Woo Jin stood, moving to her slowly. Because sometimes the most dangerous choice is also the truest one. He cupped her face in his hands, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. The gesture was tender, reverent. Nothing like what she'd expect from a mafia boss. If you stay, he said quietly, I will protect you with everything I have. I will give you honesty even when it hurts. I will never treat you as less because of your wheelchair. And I will spend every day proving that choosing me wasn't a mistake. And if I leave, then I'll let you go even though it will destroy something in me I didn't know could still be destroyed. Jada reached up, covering his hands with hers. I must be crazy. Probably. I'm staying. For now. But Woo Jin... She held his gaze. If you ever lie to me again, I'm gone. No second chances. Understood. And I want to know everything. Not just the sanitized version. Everything. That will take time. We have time, Jada said. Don't we? Woo Jin's smile was slight but genuine. Yes, if you want it, we have time. He leaned down, and this time when he kissed her, it wasn't the brief touch from the ceremony. This was deeper, hungry, full of promise and danger, and something that felt terrifyingly close to hope. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jada found herself smiling. So, she said, tell me about your organization. Start from the beginning. Woo Jin laughed, a real laugh, surprised and warm. Now? Why not? I'm awake. You're awake. Might as well get the terrifying details out of the way. He pulled a chair over, sitting so they were eye level again, and as the night deepened around them, he began to talk about his father's empire, about the codes and hierarchies of Korean organized crime, about the violence and the honor, the blood debts, and the impossible choices. Jada listened, asking questions, trying to understand this world she'd stumbled into. And somewhere in those dark hours, she realized she wasn't just staying out of defiance or attraction. She was staying because Shin Woo-jin, criminal and protector, saw her as whole, not despite her wheelchair, not because of some hero complex, but simply because of who she was, and that was worth almost any risk. The next 2 weeks were a crash course in Woo-jin's world. Jada learned about the organization's structure, lieutenants, soldiers, associates. She met key members, men who looked at her with curiosity and skepticism, until Woo-jin made clear that disrespecting her meant disrespecting him. She learned to recognize the signs of tension, the subtle signals that meant danger was close. Most importantly, she learned that Woo-jin hadn't been exaggerating about the risks. The rival organization, the one that had discovered their marriage, was the Chang family, another Korean crime group that controlled different territories in Atlanta. There had been an uneasy peace for years, but Woo-jin's father had apparently made promises before his death, promises involving territory and profit shares that Woo-jin had been slowly reneging on. "They see weakness in me," Woo-jin explained one evening as they ate dinner on the penthouse balcony. "My father was brutal, uncompromising. I'm trying to transition our operations toward legitimate business. They think that makes me soft." "Are you?" Jada asked. "Soft?" His smile was dangerous. "Ask the 3 men who tried to follow you to your flower shop last week." Jada's blood chilled. "What?" "They're no longer a concern." She didn't ask what that meant. Wasn't sure she wanted to know. Despite the danger, or perhaps because of it, Jada found herself drawn deeper into Woo-jin's orbit. He was attentive but not suffocating, protective but not controlling. He asked about her day, remembered details about her flowers, made sure the penthouse was stocked with her favorite foods. But it was the small moments that got to her, the way he always knelt or sat when talking to her, making sure they were eye level. The night he came home exhausted and bloody from some kind of confrontation, but still took time to ask if she needed anything. The morning she found him in the kitchen at dawn, learning to make her grandmother's biscuit recipe from a video because she'd mentioned missing them. "You don't have to do this," she said, watching him struggle with the dough. "I want to. Your comfort matters to me." "Why?" He looked up, flour dusting his expensive shirt, because somewhere in the past 2 weeks, this stopped being an arrangement and started being real, at least for me. Jada's heart stuttered. She'd been trying not to examine her own feelings too closely, afraid of what she'd find, but Woo-jin's honesty demanded the same from her. "For me too," she admitted quietly. The kiss that followed was interrupted by his phone, always his phone, pulling him back into the dangerous world he couldn't escape. But the look in his eyes before he pulled away told Jada everything she needed to know. This was real. Terrifying and impossible, but real. The crisis came on a Thursday. Jada was at her flower shop. Despite Woo-jin's concerns, she'd insisted on returning to work with security nearby when Teresa, her employee, mentioned a delivery order. Big one. Corporate event at the Grand Lotus. They specifically requested you do the arrangements. Jada frowned. Who placed the order? Company called Chang Imports. Every instinct Jada had developed over the past weeks screamed danger. Cancel it. Tell them we're booked. But it's $10,000. Cancel it, Teresa, trust me. She called Woo-jin immediately. Chang Imports just tried to order flowers from me. For your hotel. His response was a single Korean curse word. Stay at the shop. I'm sending a car. What's happening? They're testing us, seeing if they can get to you. Don't trust anyone until my people arrive. The line went dead. Jada's hands shook as she locked the shop's front door. Teresa stared at her, confused and increasingly frightened. What's going on? Who was that? My husband, something's wrong. The window exploded inward. Glass showered across the shop floor. Jada screamed, wheeling backward as 3 men burst through. Not Korean, Eastern European, maybe Russian. They moved with military precision, weapons drawn. Mrs. Shin, one said, his accent thick. You come with us. No trouble. No one gets hurt. Teresa bolted for the back door. One of the men raised his gun, and Jada found herself moving before thought, grabbing a heavy vase and hurling it at him. Her aim was terrible from the wheelchair, but it was enough distraction. Teresa made it outside. That was stupid, the leader said, advancing on Jada. She grabbed another vase, then a pair of pruning shears. Not much of a defense, but she'd be damned if she went quietly. The man laughed. The boss said you had spirit. Shame we have to hurt you. He reached for her. Jada swung the shears, opening a gash across his forearm. He swore, backhanded her hard enough that her wheelchair tipped. She hit the floor among the flowers and glass, pain exploding through her shoulder. The world tilted. Through blurred vision, she saw the man raising his gun, saw his finger tightening on the trigger. The shop's back door burst open. Wu Jin moved like violence given form, a gun in each hand. The first shot took down the man about to shoot Jada. The second and third dropped his companions before they could even turn. In 3 seconds it was over. Wu Jin was at Jada's side immediately, gun holstered, hands gentle as he checked her for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they... I'm okay. Bruised, but okay. She grabbed his jacket, pulling him close. They were going to kill me. I know. His voice was raw, furious. I know, and I'm sorry. This is my fault. No, this is their fault. Jada looked at the bodies. She should be horrified, traumatized, but all she felt was relief. What do we do now? Now we end this. Wu Jin's people arrived to handle the scene. Teresa had already called police, but they were somehow redirected. Jada didn't ask how. Didn't want to know the extent of Wu Jin's reach. Back at the penthouse, surrounded by guards, Jada finally let herself shake. Wu Jin wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, handed her tea he'd spiked with something stronger. The Chang family has gone too far, he said quietly. They've broken every protocol, every rule. They think they can force my hand by threatening you. Can they? No, but they've given me justification to do what I should have done months ago. He knelt before her, taking her hands. I need to handle this. It won't be pretty. There will be violence, probably deaths. I can shield you from most of it, but not all. If you want to leave, now is the time. Jada thought about it, really thought about it. She could walk away, wheel away from all of this. Return to her simple life, her flower shop, her safe existence. But she'd also be walking away from Wu Jin, from the man who'd chosen her when no one else had, who'd protected her, respected her, seen her as whole, who'd killed for her without hesitation. I'm not leaving, she said, but I want something from you. Anything. The truth about my accident, the one that paralyzed me. You said it wasn't an accident. How did you know? Wu Jin's expression went carefully blank. Jada, the truth. You promised me honesty. He was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with something that might have been guilt. Your father, Daniel Coleman, owed money to a loan shark, one of Chang's associates. When he couldn't pay, they arranged the accident. You and your mother were supposed to die too, eliminating the debt and sending a message. The words hit Jada like a physical blow. You're saying my accident, my parents' deaths were murder? Yes. How long have you known? Since before we met. Since I did background research before your wedding. I saw the accident report, and something felt wrong. I had my people investigate. He met her eyes. I married you partly because I wanted to protect you, because I knew Chang was responsible, and I knew they might come after you eventually. Jada didn't know what she felt. Anger, grief, something too complex for words. You've known this whole time and didn't tell me? I was trying to find the right moment. There is no right moment for that kind of truth. She wheeled backward, needing distance. My parents were murdered. I was crippled. And you knew, and you just... What? Decided you'd handle it? I was trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need honesty. I need... Her voice broke. 2 years. 2 years she'd blamed herself. Blamed bad weather and bad luck, and the universe's cruelty. But it had been deliberate. Someone had stolen her parents, her mobility, her life, and Wu Jin had known. Get out, she whispered. Jada, get out. He left. Jada sat alone in the too large apartment, surrounded by luxury she hadn't earned, protected by men she didn't trust, married to someone who'd lied by omission. And somewhere underneath the anger and grief, a cold fury began to build. Chang had taken everything from her, her parents, her legs, her innocence, and now they were trying to take her life. She wouldn't let them, couldn't let them. When Wu Jin returned hours later, Jada had made her decision. I want them to pay, she said without preamble. The people who killed my parents, Chang, all of them. I want them to pay. Wu Jin studied her. That's not who you are. Maybe it wasn't, but they made me this way. She met his eyes. You're going to war with them anyway. Let me be part of it. Let me have my revenge. It's not revenge if I do it for you. Then tell me how to hurt them myself. Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. It was dangerous, fierce, nothing like the gentle man she'd been falling for. This was the crime boss, the killer, the heir to a brutal empire. "All right," he said, "but understand, once you cross this line, there's no going back. You'll be one of us, part of this world with all its darkness. I've been part of this world since they ran my parents off that road. I just didn't know it. Then I'll teach you, and together, we'll make sure Chang never hurts anyone again." Jada nodded. Around them, the city glittered in the darkness, beautiful and treacherous. Somewhere out there, the people who'd destroyed her life were celebrating, thinking they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. The war between the Shin and Chang organizations lasted 3 weeks. To the outside world, it looked like normal business. No bodies in the streets, no obvious violence. But in the shadows, battles raged. Jada became Wu Jin's secret weapon. No one expected the disabled flower shop owner to have any role in criminal strategy, which made her perfect for gathering intelligence. She met with Chang's associates under the guise of floral consultations, learning their schedules and weaknesses. She used her flower deliveries to scout locations. She became invisible in plain sight, her wheelchair making her seem harmless. But she was anything but harmless. Not anymore. Wu Jin taught her about the organization's operations with patient thoroughness. He showed her ledgers, explained territories, introduced her to key players. Slowly, Jada began to understand the empire her husband controlled, and the weight he carried. "My father believed in power through fear," Wu Jin explained one night, reviewing maps of Chang-controlled properties. "I believe in power through loyalty. Fear works short-term, but loyalty lasts. Is that why your people follow you? Loyalty? Some. Others stay because leaving would mean death, but I'm trying to change that. Give them legitimate alternatives." He glanced at her. "It's slow work. Everything worthwhile is." They worked side by side, planning strategy, coordinating moves, and somewhere in those intense weeks, Jada's anger at Wu Jin's initial deception faded. She understood now why he'd waited to tell her, understood the impossible weight of his position. The turning point came when Jada discovered something crucial. Chang's money was being laundered through a chain of legitimate businesses, including a charity for disabled children. The irony was sickening. "They're using disabled kids as cover," she told Wu Jin, barely controlling her rage. "Taking donations meant for medical equipment and funneling it into their operations." Wu Jin's expression went cold. "That crosses every line, even for them. Can we expose them? Better, we can destroy them." The plan was complex, requiring coordination with law enforcement that Wu Jin had on his payroll and legitimate media contacts. They couldn't just attack Chang directly. That would spark a war neither side could win. But if Chang's operations were exposed, if their money dried up, if their legitimate business fronts collapsed, the house of cards would fall on its own. Jada's role was crucial. She reached out to local news, posing as a whistleblower who'd discovered the charity fraud. She provided documentation that Wu Jin's people had obtained. She gave emotional testimony about how the charity had promised her community adaptive equipment that never materialized. The story broke on a Monday. By Tuesday, federal investigators were involved. By Wednesday, half of Chang's organization was under arrest. Through it all, Jada waited. Because the man she really wanted, the one who'd ordered the hit on her parents, was still free. Lee Min-ho, Chang's second-in-command, the one who'd arranged the accident. Wu Jin's people had been tracking him, waiting for the right moment. That moment came on Thursday night. "He's alone," Wu Jin told Jada. "Running. He knows everything's collapsing. This is our chance." "I want to see him," Jada said. "Face to face. I need to know he knows why this is happening." "It's dangerous." "I don't care." Wu Jin studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, but I'll be there every second, and if anything goes wrong, you leave. Understood?" "Understood." They found Lee in a warehouse on the outskirts of the city, counting cash and preparing to run. Wu Jin's men surrounded the building silently. When Lee realized he was trapped, his expression went from panic to fury. "Shin," he spat. "You think you've won. Chang is finished," Wu Jin interrupted, his voice cold. "His organization is destroyed, his money seized, his people arrested. It's over. Because of you? Because he forgot the first rule. Never involve innocents." Wu Jin stepped aside, revealing Jada in her wheelchair. Tell her what you did." Lee's eyes widened with recognition. "The Coleman girl." But she was supposed to die. Tell her, Wu Jin repeated, and there was something in his voice that made Li flinch. It was business. Your father owed money. We had to send a message. You killed my parents, Jada said, her voice steady despite the tears on her face. You destroyed my life, for money. It wasn't personal. It was personal to me. The words tore out of her. Every day I wake up and can't walk. Every time I see a picture of my parents. Every moment I live with what you took from me, that's personal. Li backed away, but there was nowhere to go. Wu Jin's men blocked every exit. What happens now? Li asked. You kill me? That makes you just like Chang. No, Wu Jin said quietly. It makes me justice. He raised his gun. Jada reached out, touching his arm. Wait. Wu Jin paused, looking at her questioningly. I've spent 2 years drowning in anger and grief, Jada said, still looking at Li. I wanted revenge. Wanted to hurt him the way he hurt me. But looking at him now, she paused, he's not worth it. He's nothing. Just a small, cruel man who hurts people for money. Jada, I want him arrested. I want him to face trial for my parents' murders. I want everyone to know what he did. She met Wu Jin's eyes. I want justice, not revenge. Wu Jin held her gaze for a long moment. Then slowly, he lowered the gun. You're sure? I'm sure. Killing him would make us like him. And I refuse to let him make me into something I'm not. Li looked between them, confused and desperate. You're just going to let the cops have me? No, Wu Jin said. I'm going to make sure you spend the rest of your life paying for what you did. Every day in a prison cell, knowing that the woman you tried to destroy is out here, living her best life despite you. He smiled, sharp and dangerous. That seems like a better punishment than death. Wu Jin's people handed Li over to law enforcement, the legitimate kind, the ones who couldn't be bought. With the evidence they provided, Li's conviction was certain. The Chang organization collapsed completely within a month, its remaining members scattered or imprisoned. For the first time in years, Wu Jin could breathe freely. The threat that had hung over him since his father's death was gone. He'd won, not through his father's brutal methods, but through strategy and patience. And through Jada. Back at the penthouse in the quiet after the storm, Jada found Wu Jin on the balcony. He stood at the railing, looking out over the city that was his kingdom. Thank you, he said as she wheeled up beside him, for stopping me, for reminding me that there's more than one kind of strength. Thank you for listening. He turned to face her, and in the city lights, she could see every emotion written on his face. I love you, Jada Coleman. I think I have since that moment in the chapel when you looked at me with such defiance. You've made me better, made me believe I could be more than my father's legacy. Jada's breath caught. They hadn't said the words before, too caught up in survival and strategy. But she felt them now, undeniable and true. I love you too, even though you're a criminal, and you lied to me, and you brought danger into my life. She reached for his hand. You also chose me when no one else would. You saw me as whole. You gave me back my strength. Wu Jin knelt beside her wheelchair, taking both her hands. Marry me again. But this time, not out of desperation or obligation. Marry me because you want to build a life with me. We're already married. Then marry me every day. Choose me every morning. Let me choose you. He brought her hands to his lips. I know I'm asking you to live in a dangerous world, but I promise I'll spend every day making it safer, making it better. For you. For us. Jada looked at him. This complicated, dangerous, surprisingly gentle man who'd walked into her life at its lowest point and refused to let her drown. Yes, she said simply. Every day. I choose you. The kiss was inevitable. Necessary. A promise sealed with touch. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Jada found herself laughing. What? Wu Jin asked, smiling. I was supposed to marry Marcus. Safe, boring Marcus, who worked in accounting and wanted a simple life. Instead, I married a Korean Mafia boss who's taught me about criminal enterprises and revenge and how to survive in a world I never knew existed. Regrets? Not a single one. Wu Jin stood, then smoothly lifted Jada from her wheelchair. She gasped, arms going around his neck. He carried her inside, moving through the penthouse toward the bedroom. What are you doing? Proving that you made the right choice. His smile was warm, genuine, full of promise. Every single day, Jada. I'm going to prove it. Later, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Jada traced the tattoos on Wu Jin's chest. She'd learned what each one meant, symbols of his father's legacy, marks of his position, reminders of battles fought and won. "I want to add one," he said quietly. "Peonies for you, for the moment my life changed. You don't have to. I want to. You're part of me now. Part of my story." He kissed her forehead. The best part. Jada settled against him, feeling safe in a way she'd never expected to feel again. Outside, the city continued its endless cycle. Somewhere, criminals planned crimes. Police investigated. Ordinary people lived ordinary lives. But here, in this moment, Jada was exactly where she was meant to be. With a man who'd seen her at her lowest and decided she was worth everything. With a husband who'd turned her greatest tragedy into her greatest triumph. With someone who'd proven that sometimes the most dangerous choice was also the truest one. "Woo Jin?" she murmured, half asleep. "Nobody touches what's mine either." She felt him smile against her hair. "No, they don't. Not anymore." The years passed, bringing changes neither of them could have predicted. Woo Jin succeeded in transitioning most of his organization's operations toward legitimate business. It wasn't easy. Old habits died hard, and some members resisted change. But with Jada at his side, offering perspective from outside the criminal world, he found ways to build an empire that didn't require blood. The Grand Lotus expanded to 5 locations. Woo Jin's restaurants became famous throughout Atlanta for their authentic Korean cuisine. Import-export operations went completely legitimate, specializing in Korean goods and art. There were still shadows. Some things couldn't be cleaned entirely, but they were shadows he could live with. Jada's flower shop became an institution. Bloom and Grace expanded to 3 locations, employing dozens of people from disadvantaged backgrounds. She specialized in creating opportunities for others who'd been written off, the disabled, the formerly incarcerated, anyone society deemed less than. Her arrangements graced weddings, corporate events, and every Shin property. But her favorite work remained the simple bouquets she created for their home. Peonies, always peonies, filling their penthouse with color and life. They never had biological children. Jada's injuries made that impossible, but they fostered teenagers who needed stability. Kids from rough backgrounds, children of incarcerated parents, youths who reminded Woo Jin of himself before his father's death. They offered opportunities, education, a path out of darkness. Some of those kids went to college. Some worked in Woo Jin's businesses. One became a prosecutor, which Woo Jin found hilarious and oddly fitting. On their anniversary, the real anniversary, not the impulsive wedding but the day Jada decided to stay, they returned to the Grand Lotus Chapel. It looked different now, updated and modernized, but the bones were the same. "Do you ever regret it?" Woo Jin asked, holding her hand as they stood and sat, where they'd first made impossible promises. Which part? Marrying a stranger, joining the Mafia, learning about revenge? Any of it, all of it. Jada looked at him, this man who'd become her whole world. There were grey threads in his black hair now, lines around his eyes from years of smiling more than he'd ever expected to, tattoos that had expanded to include peonies, just as he'd promised. "Not once," she said honestly. "You gave me back my life. More than that, you gave me a life I never knew I could have. You saved me," Woo Jin countered. "I was drowning in my father's legacy, becoming someone I hated. You showed me another way. So we saved each other." "Yes, we did." He kissed her then, in the chapel where everything had started. Gentle, reverent, full of years of love and trust and choosing each other every single day. When they pulled apart, Jada smiled. "Take me home?" "Always." As they left the chapel, Woo Jin pushing her wheelchair with the ease of long practice, Jada thought about the woman she'd been that devastating day 5 years ago. Broken, humiliated, convinced her life was over. She'd been so wrong. Her life hadn't ended in that chapel. It had begun. With danger and darkness and impossible choices, yes, but also with love and strength and a man who'd seen past her wheelchair to the fighter underneath. Some love stories started with flowers and first dates. Theirs had started with tears and desperation, and a stranger's impossible offer. But it had become something beautiful anyway, something real, something that proved that sometimes the best things bloomed in the darkest places. And as they drove through Atlanta's streets toward home, Jada reached over and took Woo Jin's hand. He squeezed back, understanding without words. This was their city now, their empire, built not on fear but on second chances. Their life lived on their terms. Together, always together.